cold out today, huh? Connie, Kateri, hi, how are ya? Staying warm today? Really? Good boy. Connie, I didn't throw any treats. Connie, sit. Good pig. Good pig. Sit. Sit. All the way. There are animal psychologists, there are animal communicators. There are all these people who claim to have specialties, but it still comes down to the fact that nature is nature. And I listen to nature because it's always talking to us, communicating with us. I've chosen to call myself the dog listener as opposed to the dog whisperer, because whispering implies that you're telling someone else to do something. I choose to listen, and they will tell me what their needs are, what they like, what they don't like. So other than that and the basic concepts of classical conditioning, I don't think there's anything more. When I studied acting when I came to New York, I studied with Stella Adler, and she was part of the group theater. And that method of acting was being real on stage. You had to really cry and really be angry and really be in the moment. Little did I know that that would be the specialty of what I do. You know, when I work with actors and directors, I tell them animals don't act. Animals are really in the moment. You cannot disconnect from them. So it forces actors into really being alive on stage when they act with an animal. Good boy, Moose. Good boy. Hey, Reba. Hey, Reba. Hi, Moose. Hi, Reba. The prevailing technique of animal training back in the 70s was being forceful with them. If they didn't do it, there was a correction. And we always trained with positive reinforcement, because I knew in a live theater piece, if you let the dog go and it doesn't want to go, there's nothing you can do. I always created this situation where they wanted to go on stage, where they wanted to have fun. Hey, stop. It's okay, we're all here. Jeez. An animal is an independent creature with its own thought, with its own will. And many of them have never listened to a human before, so the first thing we have to do is teach them that it's fun to listen. And we do that through doing some basic obedience exercises, walking by our side, staying, lying up and down. And it's to break through and go, listen, if you hang out with us, you're gonna have a really good time. Good boy. Good boy. Very good, very good. And once they realize that, then you can teach them any behavior that's needed. You're doing so good today. You're doing so good today. All the sessions that we started with, we always start with a leash so that we physically connect ourselves to the dog. So teaching them to walk by our side is as simple as using the leash to teach them where their body should be, you know, and going in a pattern. Now you do that 100 times, and ultimately you don't need this leash in the pattern, and the dog knows it automatically. Now, all we've done is taught the dog to go in a circle, but then we'll teach it to do 2 circles, and then we'll teach it to do other things. You gotta learn how to unroll this rug, buddy. Each one of these behaviors, we go through a very slow training process, which sometimes will take a year before we ever show up to the first day of rehearsal. Push it, push it, push it, push it. Good boy, push it. You got it, good boy. Good boy, good boy. Buddy, stay. Look, down. Excellent. Good job, bud. Good job. Sometimes we don't want the audience to recognize that we're giving them a cue. So for example, petting their eyes means stay. So if an actor does that on stage, they can walk away and, why aren't you following me? I mean, they could be saying things like, come on, let's go. And the dog's not going to move because that hand signal means stay. And nodding our head. Bodhi. What? What are you talking about? I don't understand. What are you talking about, huh? So an actor can nod his head and actually create a dialogue with an animal. So that's all part of the stage magic that we do to get animals to do behaviors, and the audience is unaware of it. We probably do these behaviors hundreds of times to perfect them. Minnie, come on, Minnie. Come on, Minnie. Come on, Minnie. Oh. You want to go to work? You want to go to work? Want to go to work? Minnie up. Good girl. Minnie down. I represent a population of creatures who do not voluntarily walk into my life and say, I want to do this. It's a good girl. So I feel a huge responsibility to protect them, to make sure they have a good lifestyle, to make sure that their welfare is always first and foremost, because it's only a show. Where's it going? Where's it going? The first thing I do with directors and producers is remind them that they're sentient beings. You did a perfect job, Minnie. And that they need as much rehearsal as the actors do. And that if you hire an actor who doesn't like animals, it's not going to work. Let's go back upstairs. Come on, come on. Look who's here. Look who's here. Who is that? Who is that? Oh,
How are you, good girl? How are you, girl?
So, today I want to do sort of our standard warm-up.
Yes.
We're going to do the basics, and then we'll do some of the more difficult behaviors from the show.
Should we do the stay?
Yes, let's do stay.
Minnie?
We'll see if she will keep her focus on you. Sometimes I think their head are going to go 360 all the way around.
Yes. She turns like the exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
Good girl.
Good.
Pen. Dance. Good girl. Oh, thank God evolution took the big bad wolf out of you. You are a nice little doggy that I can hug and kiss. Oh, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, here's Isabella with the maternal instincts going askew. Well, you're wrong. We might have evolved and domesticated the wolf, making him into a dog, but the wolf might have domesticated us, kidnapping the feeling we reserve for our children for themselves. We are the top predator. Okay, so now you concentrate. So when the chicken makes this sound, it means sound, danger from above. I always have dogs, and I always teach them tricks, and I also volunteered for many years for the Guide Dog Foundation raising. But it's different on the stage because of the vastness of the rooms, the audience, the light, the fact that I have a microphone and my voice is much stronger. And it's much more difficult for a dog to keep the attention on you. And Bill told me that not all dogs could act. They have to have it in them. They have to be confident, and they have to like it. They have to be playful, and they have to relate to people because, you know, today Minnie works with me, but tomorrow she might work with another actress. So they have to be incredibly social. Lots of the same characteristics that we have to have as actresses. Well, I wanted a dog that was small because we have a show that travels. I wanted a dog that could travel with me on the cabin. I want a distinct sign of domestication and floppy ears, patchy coat. She has a little bit of patchy, white patch. It's something that happened with the process of domestication. So I wanted somebody light to travel with, floppy ears, patchy coat, talent. An actress talent.
This was her favorite, chasing.
Look, she's ready to go.
People ask me, why do we use rescue animals? And I go, why not? When we get a call for a show, we'll put out sort of an email. And now all the shelters rush to send us pictures because they want their dog to be the next star. Well, that was about 20 minutes. That's all we really need to work.
Great.
Keep it fun,
To
keep it fresh.
fun. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Okay, Bill, thank you so much.
You're welcome, you're welcome. When I go to a shelter, it's a very stressful place for an animal. And if I meet a dog in a shelter, and as a stranger it comes up to me and it's friendly, chances are that when we bring him to a stage, there's nothing that's going to be that stressful.
Where'd she go? Where'd she go? She left.
So they've got to be non-aggressive, they have to be very friendly, and they have to be treat motivated. Currently, we have 31 canine actors.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Good girl.
Who made that sound? I didn't make that sound. Did you make that sound? Did you? A chicken! Oh, well, it's not really a chicken. It's my dog that I dressed like a chicken. She's an actress, I'm an actress. So we will interpret for you all the animal we're going to talk about in the circus Link Link.
When I was in high school, I decided I wanted to be an actor. There's a very famous theater here in Connecticut called the Goodspeed Opera House. And they had a summer apprenticeship program where they used to invite kids to come and build scenery and be around professionals. So I signed up for that program. My second summer there, they were doing a new play about Little Orphan Annie. And after they had already advertised they were doing the show, they recognized there was a dog in the script. And they called professional animal trainers in New York, and they couldn't afford them. So at that point, the producer was stuck, and he needed basically a sucker. I remember being called into his office. He sat me down. He said, "Billy, you're doing a great job here. We really admire your work." He said, "How would you like a part in one of our shows and your equity card?" Now, 20 years old, here I am, I'm thinking, God, this guy is so smart. He recognizes my acting ability by the way I've been moving scenery. And I said, yes, that would be great. And he said, all you have to do is find and train a dog for the new show. And of course, my response was, of course. I left his office on cloud nine because I was going to have my chance to be an actor. And then the whole thing about having to find and train a dog. One day I took one of the trucks and I went auditioning for dogs. I ended up at the Connecticut Humane Society, and there was a little dog there who was abused and he wasn't very friendly. And I trained him as I had trained my own dogs growing up on a farm. I mean, my dogs followed me around, they were never on leash. And being an only child, my animals were my companions. They were my family members. They weren't things that I forced to do anything. So that's the theory I applied when I trained the original Sandy for the original production of Annie in 1976. In fact, Sandy was the first animal to play a character in any live theater production, a character in which the play depended upon. Who's all your friends?
What she hears is specific.
I was moving to New York City, and then 6 months later, I got a call from Mike Nichols' office. The director, Martin Charnett, had recommended me because they were now doing the show for Broadway and wondered if I would train Sandy again. And I thought, any way to work with Mike Nichols and Martin Charnett in a Broadway show? Sure, I'll be an animal trainer. And the show opened on April 21st in 1977. Annie became a huge phenomenon, and I became a world-famous animal trainer at the age of 21.
So how is Addison doing?
She's doing really well. She's really obviously excited to be here.
Yeah.
When Annie first opened on Broadway, the producer said to me, well, we're going to need an understudy. And I said, well, yeah, I'll work with two little girls. He said, no, an understudy for the dog. And it never dawned on me that in case Sandy got sick, he would have to have an understudy. So for every theatrical event we do, we have two dogs. We have a main dog and we have an understudy dog because everybody has the right to get sick now and then. This is her first outing, just to get used to the world of the theater.
Right.
And Addison is sort of in an understudy role, but what she's really here for is to begin the training to take over the role for when Macy retires. So this is her first time in a show, first time away from home. I mean, I adopted her 10 months ago. She was on the farm for about 7 months, and then she came with Mel here. So Mel's been teaching her how to be a theater dog, how to be quiet in the dressing room, how to say hello to people, and she has a little walk-on part in the show. So every night she goes on stage and she gets to hear the audience and all the commotion. In the beginning of my career, everybody else in the theater got a dressing room, but they'd want to put the dog in the back alley because it was a prop or whatever. And I was like, no, it needs a dressing room where it could sleep in between shows, where it can be protected from the weather. And I had to trade dollars to get that. Fortunately, when I came in with my first show, Annie, our director, Martin Turner, at that point, trusted me and gave me those things. And so that was the way that I was able to say to the next producer, well, we need to do it this way. Okay.
Okay.
Come on, Mace. Come on, Mel.
You ready?
I want to see this warm up. The day I saw the very first Sandy, I made a promise to myself. I said, if I ever get a dog when I grow up, I'm going to adopt it. Since that time, every dog that I've trained has been a rescue from an animal shelter. And when you rescue an animal, there's a sense of appreciation you get with them. So many of them have had not so nice lives. So they come to us and they get cared for and they get trained and they get positive reinforcement. But then they get to go places where they have a group of extended friends because the cast gets to know them, the crew gets to know them, they go to work and they have a great time. Even though we have this beautiful 90-acre farm here that they come back to, what we've really discovered is that they love doing shows because they love all that attention. And it doesn't matter whether they're on stage, in front of 2,000 people or in the middle of Times Square. All they know is that they're with me, they're getting love, they're getting treats, they're having fun, they're safe. And they really look forward to that. And I think that's a life lesson for any of us. Hey.
Who's here? Who's here? Yeah.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great. Great to see you.
You too.
All right.
How's it going? Treat pouch.
I'm doing one of my surprise inspections here.
Okay. Macy heel.
If the animal is healthy and happy and the actor gives them the cue, it's an easy show. But unfortunately, that always doesn't happen. Excellent. When Annie first opened, Sandy used to come out every night from stage right, and he'd get an entrance applause. We had run 6 months. It was a cold October night. It was raining. We had to open the house late. People were miserable. Sandy comes out and he stops midway. And Andrea looks at me and I'm looking at Andrea and she's like, come here, boy, come here. And he stopped. He stopped dead there. And I see him look over his right shoulder to the audience. Now, I'm like, what's going on? And he's looking at them. And then they start to laugh because he's staring the audience down. And then they start to applaud, and he continued his bit. Now, in the New York Times the next morning, there was an article about how Sandy held up the show for his entrance applause. When in effect, it was just that every night he came out, there was noise to his right. And the night that there wasn't noise, he stopped to turn to figure it out. And, all right, move along, all you bums out of here.
They're not bums.
We're tearing down this junk pile now.
Good
the gift that Sandy taught me and I've learned is I know how to take what the animals are feeling and what the artistic people want to do in theater and bring them together for a performance. You've gotten really good at keeping there are certain theaters like regional theaters or tours where I will go out and set up the show, and then once it's set, I move on to the next project. So we have about 7 or 8 handlers who work for us who take our shows out and run them so that I can go from setting them up. Let's run it.
Okay. All right. Good job, Massimo. Thank you. Come on, bud, let's go.
It's always gratifying for me to go and see a show and check up on it and see all the pieces working, to see the dogs happily come out, to see the actors naturally interacting with them. But one of the secret kicks that I get is when I'm out by the stage door before the dogs come out and hear people talking. How did they get that dog to do that? My dog wouldn't do that. When I first got married to my wife, Dorothy, I was complaining that, all the shows we got, they're just this little parts. The dog's a little part and gets all the publicity. Dorothy said, well, why don't we do it ourselves? She came across a children's book called Because of Winn-Dixie. And it was a very popular book about a little girl who finds a giant dog, and this dog ends up changing her life. And we've created the first musical to star a dog. There have been so many shows that have had animal characters, but I wanted to prove before my time was over that you could actually tell a story with an animal. And I think it'll be something unlike anybody has ever seen and probably will ever see. Because at this moment, there's nobody to take over my business. So when I'm done, I don't know who's going to be doing it, but I'm really looking forward to leaving one more show in which an animal is a star as a legacy. In my wildest dreams, I never thought that I would have a career that spanned 40 years plus. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would receive a Tony honor for my contribution to the theater. I've worked with some of the most brilliant directors in the world. I've met celebrities. I've met 6 presidents. But more than that, I think the theater has allowed me to create a bigger understanding about rescue animals.
Okay, you guys want to come in here? Come on, let's go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
I take a certain sense of pride when I see projects in movies or films or that other trainers are doing the same things. And I'm hoping that we've changed a little bit of the collective thought, because people will say to me, God, he's a great dog, and I went, he was a great dog before I adopted him. You could have walked into that shelter and adopted this dog the day before I did. And so I think the theater has given me the chance to leave this legacy of people thinking a little more about taking better care of animals.
Hey, Romy, come on up. Romy, come on. Join the party. Join the party. Yes, because you're a little dog. You're a little dog.